Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today, and it gives me great pleasure in welcoming you to today's webinar. My name is Shaumik Ghosh. I'm Assistant Editor at the Economic Times CISO. In today's webinar, we have ET CISO in partnership with Tata Communications, and today we take a deep dive into shaping the future of security operations centers, better known as SOCs. So why are we talking about the changing face of SOCs? Well, the security landscape has drastically changed. We see an expanding attack surface. We see ransomware being written with better obfuscation capabilities in newer languages that are getting more and more difficult to detect. The average dwell time has also increased. We have the DPDP bill, which imposes stiff financial penalties, and also a certain imposed 6-hour breach reporting mandate that makes it imperative for organizations to adhere to. And this is why security practitioners are also getting buried under a barrage of threat intel. So with these sweeping changes, security practitioners are left with little choice but to get back to the basics on people, processes, and technologies, and of course, revamping SOC. And for today's discussion, we have two experts who would love to share their experiences with you, their observations, and their expertise. With that, I'd like to welcome Vinay Bhire. Vinay is the Assistant Vice President and Global Head of Cybersecurity at Tata Communications. Vinay, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Shaumik. Thanks for inviting for this particular conference.
Sure. We also have Mukul Aluwalia. Mukul is the GM and Head of Product Marketing at Cybersecurity at Tata Communications. Mukul, pleasure hosting you as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us, Shaumik.
Right. So, folks, we have a packed agenda ahead of you today. So we have a lot of topics that we wish to cover, starting with the basics of the need to transform SOCs, why SOC modernization is becoming a reality, what are some of the challenges and implementation, some of the best practices that security practitioners and CISOs, security leaders need to keep in mind when they are modernizing their security operations, and also what we would love to hear most, and our audience as well, would be proven SOC modernization stories and what Tata Communication brings to the table. So with that, I would welcome Mukul to take over. And audience, I would like to remind you that you can post your questions. I know this is a very interesting topic. You'll have a load of questions. Share all the questions in the Q&A box. We would want this discussion to be as interactive as possible. So we have a poll also ahead for you. So with that, Mukul, over to you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Shaumik. I am just initiating the screen share. Please let me know when you can see it. Okay. Now, thanks, Shaumik, for setting that context and giving us this opportunity to talk on SOC modernization. Now, before we get into the agenda and discuss the webinar topic, we'd like to quickly thank the cybersecurity practitioners and love the timing of this webinar. This is the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We really appreciate all the work that you put in. A lot of time, a lot of heavy lifting is done by the security and IT organizations, which goes unnoticed. But we really thank you for keeping the threats at bay. You do it day in and day out, right? So much appreciate that. Right. Now, coming on to the topic of today's webinar on transitioning your traditional SOC into a modern SOC, and it would be worthwhile to take a look at the genesis of how security operation centers have evolved over the last decade and a half. Right. So this started with network operations center, and network operation centers were typically formed to establish and ensure availability, right? And after that came in the security operation centers, SOC, as we call them today. These were primarily being utilized by the government agencies, by the government agencies and, some of the defense organizations. And they established these security operation centers to monitor antivirus alerts. They looked at different intrusion detections, as well as looked at different incidents that they had to respond to. Post the government and defense organization, it moved and got an acceptance in the large enterprises, including banks, which started implementing certain level of security monitoring and eventually established, security operation centers. And sometime in the early 2000s, the information security management standard was established, right? And the role of SOC again transformed gradually, and now it included even reporting of adherence to compliance, right? So if you see, the objective of SOC has gradually changed. The requirements of a SOC has changed, but the main tipping point was somewhere between the mid of 2010s, when there was a surge in advanced persistent threats, right? The APTs, as we call them. Now, when APTs started becoming very common in the threat landscape, organizations started to deploy more advanced security controls. So DLP came into the picture. You had SIM solutions that were being deployed so that these advanced threats could be detected in a effective manner. Now, as the number of security tools went up, it eventually led to the complexity in managing these security operations. And that is when the emergence of managed security services took place, right? So when the MSSPs, saw and came into existence, the lot of these large organizations, they started offloading their IT and security operations work to these managed security services. And eventually, the medium and the small organizations started collaborating with MSSP. Now, if you look at it from an evolution standpoint, that was the early or the late 2015s onwards, we started seeing a lot of these next gen buzzwords, right? The next generation of firewalls, the SIMs, the next generation of antivirus and EDRs, and endpoint protection platform. All these controls started to emerge. At the same time, on the threats standpoint, what was happening is a lot of insider or identity-based threats also started to emerge. So with that, there was a need for a UBA kind of a solution, which is user entity and behavior analytics solution, right? And if you see a SOC architecture today, you have a lot of modern controls like SOAR. There are integrated platforms like CWPP, ERs, and then there has been a migration of your traditional SIM, which was known to be deployed on premises, which has now moved into a cloud native SIM platform, right? So with that genesis and background, I hope that helps us understand that how the pressure on SOC has constantly increased. Their adoption across different type of government, defense, and private sector has evolved, different sizes of organization, as well as the objectives, right, that were being laid for the security operation center have also gone a tremendous change, right? So with that background, if you look at a traditional SOC, which has been traditionally a human-heavy machinery, right? The bottommost layer has always been driven and based on human judgments. Now, just to share an insight, any organization today will end up generating logs between 10,000 to 150,000 logs. And this number can, significantly vary depending on your IT footprint. If you take bare minimum of 1 minute of your time, 1 minute of a man hour to analyze these logs, there are about 1400 plus minutes in a day, right? So you can only imagine the number of man hours that are required to manually, analyze these logs. And by the time you have been able to detect any particular threat, it is too late because it has spread and it has done the damage that it was intended to, right? You flip this to a modern SOC practice, you have automation, right? The first layer itself is automation. And this is built on the principle of data sciences, right? Large volume of data set coming together in a centralized data lake where data science, AI, ML is utilized to frisk through a large volume of log data, and insights are almost instantly and in real time available to our customers, right? Now, at the same time, what was happening is the threat landscape as I said, in the SOC journey kept on evolving, and they continue to evolve even today, right? There are polymorphic malwares, the ransomware, different variants of malware that keep on emerging. Now, to protect those new age threats, organizations end up deploying more and more point security products. Now, when they are deploying more and more point security products, it is ending up and creating disjointed security view. And a recent survey indicated that enterprises deploy more than 76 cybersecurity controls. And by the way, the highest number is in triple digit, right? I'm sure a lot of people here from the cybersecurity fraternity will relate to that, right? So these numbers continue to grow, which becomes a security operations nightmare. Now, imagine a situation where your SOC teams are manually having to go through these multiple disjointed point security products to do the analysis, right? Now, to address those challenges in a I'm sorry, was there a question or a comment? Okay.
No, but go ahead, please.
Yeah. So if you flip it to a modern SOC approach, right, you have integrated platforms. Now, in a modern SOC, what happens is when you are integrating platforms or when you're taking an integrated platform, your security operation overhead is reducing. Your security is becoming more consistent. It is becoming more efficient, right? Let me give you an example of network security, for example, right? Today enterprises deploy multiple network security controls, things like secure web gateway, right? You have DLPs deployed, you have CASBs deployed, you have remote browser isolation kind of capability. And the way industry is moving to consolidate them is through an SSE stack, right? The minute you converge and integrate that into one platform, the management, the security operations overhead reduce significantly. Plus, it is easier for you to enforce consistent security policies, right? You move to cloud. Even in cloud, we are seeing a huge, platform-led approach. You look at things like cloud workload protection, which brings in multiple cloud security controls together. CNAP, for example, right? You have cloud workload protection. You have cloud security posture management, right? You have container and microservices security, right? So that takes care of your your cloudification journey as well, even from a security standpoint. You look at threat detection and response, right? There is platform level changes happening there as well, right? XDR, for example, which is trying to streamline a lot of these detection and response mechanism into one cohesive platform, right? It tries to bring your SIM solution together. It tries to bring your source solution together, your UBA, NDA, your cyber threat intelligence, and multiple other detection and response mechanism can now be integrated together, which can help you build a much more disciplined and I would say resilient security architecture, right? Now, if you look at how the manual security operation centers were traditionally built, which was on manual analysis and product sprawl, it is eventually going to give them and make them more reactive in nature, right? And when I say reactive, the time that they are going to take to analyze any particular incident, and which is also based on human judgment. So there are high possibilities of human errors as well. And for the sake of argument, let's say that this person is an expert, he's a god with zero errors, you still end up detecting this threat late. So there is definitely this error or this challenge of latency that we see in traditional SOC. Scalability is another problem, right? As your IT landscape grows, as your threat landscape grows, and your product sprawl increases, how do you keep up with it, right? Because when new technology is introduced, it also requires more manual processes in a traditional SOC environment, right? So more manual processes, again, meaning more manpower that we need. And we all know that shortage of skills, security skills, is a known problem that exists in the SOC environment or the security environment that we deal with, right? You flip that to a modern SOC where it starts with automation, where you can become more proactive because you are already using data science to predict certain type of threats. You get into that proactive mode already. There is automation which is brought in terms of automating routine tasks. You can deploy an RPA who can mimic a manual process once that process is standardized, you can, have your SOAR workflows and playbooks around it, right? So automatically you are getting more efficient with your security, and gradually you transition from a traditional security operations center to a modern security operations center, right? So to summarize this slide, SOC modernization is imperative. There are multiple enhancements underway to resolve the people, process, and technology problems that exist. And these problems across geos, across industries vary. But by the means of a quick anonymized survey, and we'd like to understand, what are some of the key challenges that you are facing today from a modernization standpoint. And you would see the survey pop up onto your screen. We would definitely be sharing the outcome of this survey. And this is an anonymized survey. So we would love to get your thoughts and understand that, what are the priorities? Is it consolidating the security tools? Is it adopting cloud-delivered SIM, or moving towards a SOAR journey, or integrating threat intelligence? I think the poll will be open for a couple of seconds.
Sure, we'll give it a few seconds for the audience to vote.
Yeah.
And yeah, really pertinent points that you brought up there, Mukul, especially the one around the skills shortage. There's a hiring firm out there, one of the leading hiring firms, that reports a 30% skills shortage in India in 2023 alone in cybersecurity. And also, in conversations with security professionals, they'd rather be spending their time with innovation and business development rather than mundane tasks, security analysis, like you mentioned in your slide prior to this.
Sure. No, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, if you look at the global trends, the shortage of skills, security skills is, close to 2+ million. That is the type of open security jobs that are there, but people are unable to find the right talent.
Right.
Okay. Can we have the poll results so that, we as a security fraternity can learn from each other?
Yeah, I think the poll is closed.
Oh, wow. That is the first one, right? Consolidation of security tools. Vinay, let me bring you in quickly. What are your thoughts on this particular response, consolidation of security tools, especially?
Yeah, thanks, Mukul. So, yes, when we talk about, the modernization of the SOC, okay, when we transform from the traditional to a next generation SOC, and when we want organization to focus on their own business rather than, focusing on the IT or security activities which required and support to their organization. So it is good to have normally and, the consolidated tools. Okay, when I say consolidations means in the traditional organization used to have isolated tools like a SIEM separate or a SOAR separate. Okay, so with the next generation being to the picture, we have a Yuba, SOAR, and the SIM as a single platform, and that actually helped the organization to get a single view, not only a log-based approach, but the behavior-based approach, and that is not only the end user or entity, but as well as the network behavior, the analysis, and that gives you a complete view. At the same time, when we are talking about the insider threats or insider attacks, okay, you need to know what is planned or what is targeted in the dark web community, because nowadays those attacks are well planned, well organized, and targeted attacks. So it's very important to have an integrated threat intelligence, okay, as a part of your SOC journey, and that actually help you to take to a next generation SOC with the total visibility of your environment.
Got it. Interesting thoughts, Vinay. Thank you so much. And thanks to the lovely audience. Thanks for being so sporty and participative. And just to take this, participative and collaborative journey ahead, this is what your global counterparts think on security tool consolidation. And I'm so happy to see that, security practitioners in India are not are in line with global practitioners and global trends, right? Because we have heard for many years that, Asia as a region has been lagging in technology adoption. But I think That was a statement true 10 years back, but not anymore, right? So if you look at this survey, almost a 98% of audiences are either already consolidating their security operations tool, or they are in the process of considering the consolidation, right? So sooner or later, they are going to get onto this journey fairly quickly, right? But the SOC challenges, right? They are not limited only to the tool consolidation, right? There is the people aspect, which was just mentioned earlier, right? The people aspect is something that we have not been able to um, find a golden bullet against yet, right? And that is also because of the nature of work that traditionally a SOC analyst has been doing and is being expected to do, right? If you look at this recent survey carried out by ESG, it clearly states that almost like 65% of SOC staff, they end up doing very low level tactical kind of work, like addressing high priority and emergency issues, and they do not have enough time to focus on strategy projects and process improvement, right? They either spend it in responding to some high priority alert, or they are getting into monitoring activity. Now with that type of an job, day in day out, with with more logs that are being generated, how long do you think a SOC analyst is going to work in your organization, right? So this tactical focus is something which is which is also driving the employee turnover, right? It is creating a lot of dissatisfaction, because when you are able to make a strategic recommendation around a security architecture, right? You are able to bring in a new security control into the organization. That is more fulfilling and more rewarding, right? So we must constantly try to see how that unmet need of these SOC talent can be met, right? So organizations, the fact is they continue to struggle, and retaining this SOC talent is also a very big problem. And the challenges, continue to exist, because beyond the talent pool, there are also tools. Like we discussed, there are 76 at an average security tools. Now, when you bring in these type of tools, they require constant tuning, right? They require constant updates. Who's taking care of that, right? This is an eye-opening, statistic. And when I saw this, I discussed this with the other panelists, and I told him that this is something we should definitely highlight, right? Almost 67% of the security practitioners, and these are global data, uh, they have invested in a SOAR engine, but they very or rarely or infrequently change SOAR workflows, right? So people have invested in security tools, but either for lack of skills or either lack of understanding, lack of process standardization, they have not been regularly updating SOAR workflows and playbook. So if you see, only 26% of the respondents on a regular basis update SOAR, right? Which is a big drawback, right? On one hand, organizations and practitioners complain that we do not get enough security budgets, but at the same time, do we have the skills to upkeep them? Do we have the right process understanding to ensure that we are maximizing our security investments, right? So keeping these challenges in mind and our decade plus experience in the cybersecurity space, Tata Communications has come up with these best practices recommendations for moving into the direction of a modern security operations, right? So today, if you look at your IT landscape, it is very fragmented. It is on the cloud, it is on premises, it is hybrid in nature. There is IT OT environment, right? There is multi-vendor problem that you are dealing with, right? So how do you make sure, irrespective of where your crown jewel resides, you can quickly onboard that device or that asset into your security operation? How quickly you are able to do it so that you can maximize your security investment, right? We understand and recognize that different organizations have different deployment needs, right? Banking and highly regulated industries, they would like to have a dedicated SOC, or in some cases even a captive SOC, right? But the other which are not very regulated or highly regulated, in the name of retail and manufacturing and a couple of others, they might be okay with a shared SOC or a hybrid model, right? So you should, when you are designing the architecture, you should be clear about these requirements as well, especially if it's a large conglomerate who operates in multiple different industries, multiple different geos. These are some, foundational blocks that you should, think about. The integrated security architecture. Vinay just mentioned also the benefit of bringing everything together in a unified architecture, right? How the logs can be collected into a centralized location, and then analyzing those logs from a centralized location becomes much more easier, much more faster, right? What we have also seen is that when it comes to MITRE ATT&CK framework, organizations simply do a mapping of alerts to the TTPs and they leave it at that, right? But the scope of MITRE ATT&CK is much beyond your detection and response capabilities, which can be utilized for advanced use cases. So that must be exploited as well, right? With the changing IT landscape, with shadow IT and different type of projects that your larger organization may take, it is extremely important that you continuously do an assessment of your IT infrastructure, because there is a high possibility that there might be a security gap. There might be a blind spot which might act as a vulnerability, and the threats could traverse through, or that could act as an entry point. So that is another area that you should look at. Then from a process automation standpoint, this is alluding towards especially your mundane, your repetitive task, your rule-based task that could be automated. You should try and deploy either a SOAR or similar principles so that security automation can be brought in. And the last one is a dream for security practitioners, and we can all, even if I move this point as the first point and make it all bold, I think everybody will understand the importance and relevance that visibility right now is completely broken, right? The executives have to look at multiple dashboards. Your IT leaders, your security leaders, your SOC analysts, they have to frisk through multiple dashboards before they can create one comprehensive report across the security posture, right? So these are some of the best practices that we have been able to come up with, and how to operationalize these best practices, right? What are some of the foundational building blocks for modern SOC, Security Operations Center? I'd like to bring in my colleague Vinay, who would also share the customer experiences and successful customer deployment that we have recently had. Vinay?
Yeah, thank you, Mukul. So you touch upon very great points when we talk about the modernization or transformation of the SOC from the traditional to the next generation SOC and self-resilient SOC. That's what we talk about. Okay, so when we talk, definitely there are three key parameters which we talk about: people, process, and technology. Okay, now how we improve and how we develop our technology, as well as the process part, or integrate that into the SecOps or DevSecOps part, which actually help us to take the SOC to the next generation. Okay, so when we talk about those, the isolated platform or a platform in a silos, taking care of monitoring the services through the same. Again, you have a separate, the threat intelligence, which gives you a threat feed, and it's very difficult for the organizations and the CISOs to actually which feeds to consume. There are 150 plus feeds, open source plus commercial, and every commercial feed will claim that they are the best and they gives you the information. Definitely, all those feeds all to combine confuse the organization what exactly to be confused, what exactly to be ingested into the platform. At the same time, to give a JRC view, you may also need security incidents and to be integrated with the ITSM. So you will have the complete one single dashboard view about your environment, not only the normal network or server incidents or desktop incidents, but as well as the security incidents, and overall the focus on the overall organization downtimes and the required improvements. Okay, how all those all can be achieved? with having the one single platform. So when we talk about the traditional log management, which is typically the SIM, okay, focusing on the event management, okay, which combined with the UBA and the NVAD gives you more, the visibility towards not only the not only the static logs, but also the user entity and the assets behavior, okay, the pattern within the organization, as well as your network behavior analysis, which moves between your horizontal, the north south and horizontal traffic movement, and what actually happening, what actually, the communication between the multiple assets and the multiple technologies are happening, multiple application database are happening. Okay, so those traffics are also captured, and it gives you the single view. How we can, fast track those? So with the traditional, definitely with the tools where, the focus was more on to an having the single flat database and running the, the analytics on the that, which actually delay the overall monitoring and, identifying the incidents, okay, which actually help to by inbuilding the data lake, okay, which help you to have a distributed database with you giving the faster query response. Okay, and again, when we integrate with the multiple threat intelligence feed, from the external threat feeds as well as the open source commercial threat feeds. Okay, that gives you the correlation between your the incidents and the events happening within your environment, the pattern and the behavior happening in the environment, with what actually are planned outside of the organization. Okay, so when I say a plan outside the organization means there are similar industries, similar type of organization, other part of the world, or maybe within the country, and there are attacks are happening. Those patterns are captured through those specific threat intelligence field, and those patterns can be mapped, and those behavior can be mapped within the organization pattern, and it help you to do the early detection for those emerging threats. Nowadays, those threats are very, the gives you with the sophisticated intrusion into your system. Okay, and that actually we talk about the planting the malware bombs or bot inside your network, and those act based on the command and control center. When there is a command from the command and control center, those bots act, and the behavior and the pattern change within the organization. And that point of time, you actually get the alerts if there are pattern change, how the UBAR detects that and tells you that a specific, the behavior is changed. So how you can take the quick action on those. So with the manual task force, it is very difficult to do the eye on the glass monitoring at the same time doing the event monitoring and the event management and detecting response, detecting the events and responding to it will become a challenge where the automation play a very good role. So when automations add a value to it by creating the multiple playbooks and different use cases respect to your assets and respect to your the business application and the business function, it actually create a cohesive platform which help you to detect the security events at the early stage with the predictive and proactive analysis, and I log those incident proactively into ITSM with the automation, align those incident to and respective stakeholders, and get those incident addressed. So that's what exactly we talk about, the transforming from the traditional to an modern SOC, and that is what we have replicated to an organizations, where we support and to our customers. So let me take one of the great story where we have done this similar migration to one of the largest BFSI customer. Okay, and it's one of the largest BFSI customer with the more than 20,000 employees. Okay, and they are having a large supply chain network around more than 200K agent network. And now, when we say large supply chain network, so there are a lot of possibilities with the different type of supply chain attack, as well as the they are communicating with multiple applications then mobile app, web apps. Okay, API also play a key role here, and that's where we have helped them to migrate from their traditional SOC to an modern SOC. They were running with the basic SIEM log management solution, and that specific solution, it was purely an reactive approach, where the SOAR was missing, and the behavior analysis was missing, and that actually created and reduced overall mean time to detect and mean time to response. When actually responding to those specific attacks, there was a large manual overhead which they faced. Yeah, can you take the next slide, please? Yeah. So these are the couple of customer challenges what they have faced. So with this legacy SIEM stack, okay, it was a disintegrated, multiple lot of integrations, legacy integrations, as well as the modern API requirement, modern apps requirement, and those specific integration with the SIEM stacks become an major challenge, which actually made it difficult for them to detect the recent emerging attacks, or maybe a ransomware kind of attack, okay, which are specifically planned into the supply chain applications, or the specific, like in Log4j, planted into the logs of those specific applications, which further execute the attacks on the organization. Then having those the isolated application also create an multiple console for IT network and security monitoring team to manage and monitor and report, and then go back with the traditional way of reporting into an Excel and a PPT format, and handle those incidents manually with the expertise on the just on the people. Okay, and that's where the bringing those next generation SOC actually help, which will cover. And again, the missing component like the UBA and the SOAR, okay, and the embed, which actually doesn't give the visibility of what is happening into a network. So normally with the traditional approach, you have a incident happen, logs are detected, and logs are sent to the SIM, and then the SIM will throw the incident, and the IT team act on it by the time the loss are already happened. So how we overcome that? Okay, and then again the reporting back to the management. Okay, with the number of the incidents high, again the security incidents, which may be your higher critical incident, P1 incident or P2 incidents, which becomes an more and more with this particular technology, which actually expose to greater risks, and becoming very complex management when you have multiple different tools. So how we can overcome that? How we can improve the overall mean time to detect with the accelerators what we have developed, with the different the use cases, and different the playbooks what we have developed, how we can overcome those with the next generation technology, with bringing the AIML, leveraging the machine learning pattern. Okay. So how that actually help with our next generation platform, with the 70 plus different metadata platform, with the dynamic rescoring pattern, and again the 900 plus kind of correlation rule, with our own same own development. So in our platform, what we additionally brought in is the SIM SOAR development, CTI platform development. Okay, so with our own SOAR development, we almost do the 80% of the auto triaging, and with the CTI development, we ingest around 165 plus thread feeds plus commercial feeds into the CTI platform, and that we integrate all together, which give a next generation SOC. So moving from the traditional on-prem SOC to the cloud SOC actually gives a benefit, okay, to the customers. Then one of the very important tasks what we achieved, okay, one of the very important requirement what we have achieved here, the organization with the compliance regulation requirement, they have to split, the vigilance system, monitoring systems, and that where we have re-architect the entire system for them, okay, and deliver those, the monitoring within a period of 2 weeks. So we have done all the onboarding within a period of 2 weeks. And now when we do that, at the same time, it's very important to have a maker checker concept where we talk about what we have deployed, whether it is tested and the effective. And that's where the SOC type 2 talks about. And that's where we have our own mechanism by way of bringing either the red teaming, blue teaming, as well as, doing the attack simulation to identify whether what we have built as a vigilance system, those are delivered, the results what are expected. Okay. Then how we can achieve this? It's very important to move from eye on the glass monitoring to automation and self-resilient SOC, in which automation play a very big role. So we already almost done, the 80% of automation, 70-80% of automation in the L1 incident event monitoring and the incident logging and incident, the auto escalations. And how that help is it actually help the triaging to an 80% level, where L1 engineer really don't have to look at what is those, the multiple events are all about, and what are those incidents all about, because it does a lot of good data enrichment, and it hold the data for almost with our online and offline SOC retention strategy. It hold almost an year kind of data, and that actually help to do a data enrichment within the incident management. Okay, and SOAR play a good role to bring and identify those similar incidents which happen in the past, and bring it to an L1 notice, so they can address it quickly and auto escalate it quickly. Okay, at the same time, this 24/7 shared SOC gives you complete visibility, and don't keep you awake, odd hours, because of our strong vigilance system within the organization. That is what we have deployed to an this particular organization, and that actually helped the benefit to an organization to focus on their own business. And now with those 15 days kind of onboarding and making the SOC live, actually help the organization to build those specific, ROI, okay, and get the early returns on those particular SOC modernization or SOC journey, and that also help to improve their MTTR and mean time to response, and that's where they can mitigate a lot of say emerging threats, emerging attacks, or threat to their organization, and got their complete visibility. So those faster and proactive detection mechanism, and again, the understanding and giving the deeper visibility by way of SIM, UBA, and the NBAD in a single platform, on a single dashboard. So they get the full visibility to an deep event level, okay, rather than just getting a simple PPT or a dashboard about just a number of the incidents are happening within the organization. This real-time monitoring, okay, help them to also meet those compliance level when we actually re-architect their organization, their entire SOX, the requirement, and split into a two for their organizations, and giving again the complete visibility through our dashboard, meet their requirement of having the next generation SOC with the addressing all the emerging threats within the organization. So now, which are the different models we offer to the customer? Okay, We promote for a small scale organization as well as mid scale organization with the EPS count of around 10 to 20,000 with definitely a cloud SOC. But however, we are open to support with the on-premises deployment if there are specific regulatory requirement. And with our current SOC, where we are almost supporting 100K plus EPS with a large volume of the incident database, we can easily replicate the entire modern stock, okay, next generation stock to the customer premises, okay, and that particular that can be supported in a shared model, okay, and meeting the compliance requirement if there are. Apart from that, if the stocks are more than 20,000 EPS, definitely the replication with the large scale of repository with us about 300 plus own IP developed use cases plus around 100 plus playbooks. Okay, that actually help us to onboard the customer on a shorter scale. Plus we have done a lot of templatization, okay, for the log source integrations, which is a major pain for the many organization to onboard and fast track the overall SOC, the transformation. So we are having those templatization and the accelerator in place, as well as based on the requirement, we are open with the hybrid. So when we say hybrid, you may have a on-prem SOC with remote support. We do that, and that's where we are doing with this particular our customer, and it is a very successful today, where they were actually having the on-prem support, and we have done completely and remote with just an incident manager to be supported from the on-site, and that is to an business hour, and that's where we are replicating with to many of our customer. Okay, with this particular use case, I would like to take to a next poll. uh, yeah. So just to run the next poll to understand what the IT managers and security CISO organization are today looking for. Soumik, over to you. Just can you open the poll, please?
Sure. We're going to launch this poll for you. So essentially, we are looking to capture, what are your plans on SOC deployment in the next year? So are you looking for on-prem, cloud-based, or a hybrid SOC? We're going to launch the question for you, the poll for you in just a minute. And in the meantime, whenever we are starting to get some questions, I mean, there's one very interesting one here. I'm going to park this, till the end, and I would love to hear your views on this. All right. Let's take a look at what our audience is looking at when it comes to SOC deployments in the next 12 months. Okay. We'll give it another 10 seconds for the audience to complete the voting. And then we'll close the poll and then take a look. All right. I think we've got most of our inputs. Can we have the poll results up on the screen, please? 47% of the audience says they're looking for a hybrid SOC deployment in the next 12 months. Vinay, is this something which is in line with your expectations, in line with global trends as well?
Yeah, that's really a great the contribution by the community here, and yes, it is in line to in line to what we talk about. So when we say an hybrid SOC, definitely you can have the SOC hosted into the SI platform, as well as maybe as a service model, and monitoring is again the remote share model, but to support the business, because business runs at the pace, and with that pace the support is required, and we need a person to support them on site to address if there are any attacks. So during the business hours, so the person can be on prem and support them, or maybe depend on the organization requirement, specific people can be on site to support them. Okay, so that's a one way of looking at a hybrid SOC. Second is with certain regulations, customer may require to have the SOC deployed on premises, but the monitoring can be done remotely due to the log retention or some regulatory requirement. So that's something falls into the hybrid SOC, and that's, yes, we do support that as well, and we run many of our customer based on that. So what we have done is we have completely, done the marriage between the cloud and the hybrid SOC. So we have developed our cloud SOC with the different model to support. And if it is a dedicated SOC required with the remote support model, then also it is a part of our offering, and that's what we have developed. Yeah, we
All
are
right.
in line. Thank you very much, team.
All right, we can close the poll here. Quick question. I mean, do you see the trend continuing in the next couple of years as well? Do you see hybrid leading the way, followed closely by cloud?
Yeah. So if you look at here now, the trend is again towards the cloud SOC, because
Right.
the focus is more on, as a service model, and the benefit, the customer get is they don't have to focus on the isolated silos technology. They get a next generation SOC with, again, there are a lot of supporting technologies like a CTI platform, or red teaming, blue teaming, threat hunting. Okay, all those kind of services, which is again the part of the cloud SOC platform, and that actually help the organization to meet all the requirement and focused on only on the dashboard, which give them a complete visibility about what is happening into their environment. Okay, and what are those incidents which they have to look at, and it also helps to give the different dashboard at the IT manager level, CXOs or the CISOs or CIO level, so they can just focus on what reports they are looking for on the dashboard rather than creating an PPT based different report. At the same time, the centralized SOC. Okay, when we say a centralized SOC, so all the logs, again, a big data lake platform which actually help to build those centralized SOC, where all the logs are having at the one location, and you are doing the queries and getting the faster response. Okay, that actually help the organization to do the lot of threat hunting queries, as well as the build a lot of correlation rules, which gives them a real-time visibility rather than post-incident response factor.
Understood. Okay, let's move on to the global trends. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's a global trend, which we talk about here. If you look at the 24.7% versus the 9 points, so where you can see there is an increase in the global trend as per this particular report, as well as in the centralized SOC also there is a slight increase from 32 to 32.6%. And if you look at here, the overall regional SOCs, or maybe the regionally distributed SOC or centralized distributed SOC. So those are reduced to an the some extent, and more focus is toward the cloud SOC and the centralized single SOC for the organizations.
Okay, thanks, Vinay. Those were some great insights, and it's great to understand the audience and security practitioners in this part of the world, and then drawing some parallels to the global security practitioners, which is mostly falling in line with the global trends. Now, we at Tata Communications have recognized that one size does not fit all, right? And the previous survey result, the poll result, and the analyst survey clearly indicated that based on different customer requirements, different industries that they operate in, their requirements are different, right? So at Tata Communications, we have a pretty comprehensive cyber threat detection and response portfolio. We provide managed detection and response capabilities. Sorry, there is captive SOC. There are a lot of these BFSI and highly regulated industries, as well as some industry regulating bodies who are our murky customers in this space, where Tata Communications has done the complete captive SOC development and management for these customers, right? We also operate in a managed SIM model, and we also have EDR and NDR kind of capabilities, which are slowly being added to our cyber threat detection and response portfolio. Right now, apart from these, standard services that we have, we also provide, on-demand or premium services to our customers. Threat hunting, for example, right? Your proactive need to look out for threats that might be lurking in your network is becoming extremely critical, right? So these, tactics, both which are manual and automated, are deployed. And we also leverage, MITRE ATT&CK here to ensure that, by utilizing threat hunting, you can uncover these threats which are even lying dormant in your network, right? We also provide, digital forensics and incident response services, which can be tuned in on demand or for for an emergency situation or to address a particular incident that might have occurred, right, which is qualified as a security incident. We can partner with you on that as well, right? Red teaming assessment to simulate complex attacks and modern day attacks onto your network to understand where the security gaps are and plug those gaps. Now, these type of assessments also help you face the upcoming compliance requirement in a much more confident manner. Brand monitoring is again something that we are seeing an uptake, especially for executives and defacement of different fake websites coming in, brand abuse, right? So to prevent all those, we also have brand monitoring as a capability. Apart from that, malware analysis is the other add-on services that we provide to our customers, and we continue to build onto these bouquet of premium services as new type of threats come in, as new use cases, as new challenges emerge. Right now, moving to the right side of this presentation, where you see the spider graph, right? So Tata Communications believes that apart from the engineering efforts that we have put in to build a world-class product, we also need to go out and validate our claims as well as test the strength of our products vis-a-vis the competition, right? So Kapinger Cole is a global analyst and advisory firm. They do MDR research, and they looked at near 20 MDR providers, and Tata Communications was one of them. We were evaluated against 1,500 plus parameters. 1,000 plus were technical in nature, right? And these parameters, gauged us around our coverage, around our ability to support different cloud environments, around detection capabilities, response, automation, our ability to provide threat intelligence, right? 1,000 plus parameters, right? So now whatever we are claiming that we can deliver to our customers has been validated by a third party, which is a neutral agency, and they have identified Tata Communications as a product leader. So we are pretty proud of this achievement, right? And based on the best practices and the extensive portfolio that we have built, Tata Communication is able to deliver multiple customer benefits, right? The biggest one is rapid onboarding. And I think Vinay would have covered the way in which we started this journey with 2 weeks was about a few quarters back. We were claiming that we'll be able to onboard 250 to 300 plus devices. But the customer success stories which Vinay mentioned, we were able to do a whooping 1,200 plus devices in matter of 2 weeks, right? Which is a huge number. So we have a huge set of log connector repository, which helps us, look at fragmented IT infrastructure, multi-vendor, and onboard these devices fairly quickly onto your security operations center, right? The next one is our ability to detect advanced threats. This is full credit to our engineering team. We have a full-time engineering team which extensively develops new types of use cases. We have 800 plus engineered use cases. We continue to build onto that repository so that our detection capabilities are in line with modern threats. Again, very proud of the indigenously built SOAR platform, which is our intellectual property. Our engineering teams have automated a lot of security processes, and today we can extend our SOAR platform to our customers. We can bring in some elements of their IT ticketing and other security tools that they have, and allow them to leverage our SOAR platform as well. What we have also done is, Vinay mentioned enough about the importance of cyber threat intelligence, so I don't want to go there. But one point that I'd like to mention is Tata Communications has a very, very large network backbone, which means that there are a lot of these global internet service providers who leverage Tata Communications network. So by default, we get visibility into 25% plus of world's internet traffic. we look at the net flow data, and that net flow data is also integrated into our CTI platform. So apart from multiple thread feed sources that we subscribe to, this net flow data kind of elevates us against any competition that may exist in the market, right? The unified security visibility is brought in by a homegrown customer portal that we have built in. There are flexible deployment and commercial models that we spoke of. We have a large pool of certified security professionals. We help you meet regulatory compliance from certain to all the other industry and geo-specific regulatory requirement. And in the end, whatever we claim, we go ahead and validate it out with our customers, with our leading industry analyst firm, so that when we have an offering on the table, it truly is a market leading as well as a fully baked product for our customers to reap benefit from day one. With that, I know we are at the top of the hour, so I'd like to thank the audience today, and I'll bring in Shomik, to continue with Q&A.
Thank you so much for that, Mukul. We are kind of running short on time. We have time for one question, and I'll take that. This comes from Mohit Bhateja. So Mohit points out that there are several agencies providing SOC services and SOC analysts. But when it comes to threat, actual scenarios, they found one major gap, which is that rules are not defined properly. And he also cites an example. For instance, we define maximum attempts for brute force attacks for a specific time frame. Now, a scenario comes in where the brute force is actually much slower than what they had anticipated and what the rule was set for. And neither the SOC nor the SOAR can perform any action based on that defined rule. So what is your take on this, Mukul? Vinay, you can chip in as well, please.
Yeah, Vinay, would you like to take a lead?
Yeah, I would like to take this question. Thanks, Shomik. Okay. So there are two important points, Mohit. Thanks for this particular. It's a really a great question. And there are two important points you mentioned. One is definitely the rules. When we talk about the rules, we are having, as previously mentioned by Mukul, we are having almost 800 plus engineered use cases and 300 plus use cases which are our own IP which we have developed. Okay, plus our platform has a 900 plus rule set. Okay, so that's number one. But how to leverage that? Okay, with the pattern what you mentioned. Okay, so this is purely an the behavior based pattern which actually play a UBA or embed play as a very key role. So that's again ingested in our platform. That is again part of our platform services, and how it complement with the CTI field is the getting the pattern from the external the thread feeds, as well as what's happening into the similar industry for the similar pattern or similar kind of attack. So all those correlated with the huge repository of the correlation rule with the integration of the UBA and and the CTI platform that actually help us to identify such low and slow attacks as well. Okay, and actually help to detect that. And that kind of maturity what we have developed today, which help to detect those kind of slow brute force attack, where you may have a very little, or a few failure attempts for the authentication and authorization, but those are continuous, right? So those behavior-based change patterns are detected through this particular next generation platform, and that's how we help our customer to identify such incident with those data enrichment patterns.
All right. Another question that we have, Vinay, I'll slip it to you, Mukul as well. For the next gen SOC, do you think XDR capabilities are going to become a standard feature? Also, how important is the role of a rapid SOC transformation when it comes to long-term cost optimization? What effect does it have on costs of running SOCs?
Okay. Mukul, can I take this question?
Sure, Vinay. I'll chip in the end.
So let me talk about the XDR capabilities. So XDR is journey. So today when we talk about the traditional to the modern, we started with the SIM, and then we ingested the UBA, then we ingested the NBAD. Okay, then now from the antivirus to the EDR journey. Okay, and now when we talk about the XDR, collecting all the different logs and putting into the single data lake, and then monitoring, identifying those specific events, okay, and taking the appropriate action, leveraging those next generation platform actually helps to move towards that particular XDR journey. And if we talk about directly an XDR rather than going into an phase manner to meet those XDR parameter, actually help the organization to mature the overall vigilance and the SOC monitoring for the organizations. So Mukul, you wanted to add anything in this?
Yeah, just from a business standpoint, right? Since these are going to be platform-led approach, your cost in and your security investments will get better optimized, right? Because you are spending less. You would ideally spend more on point security product, but when you bring in an integrated platform which is more comprehensive in nature, it kind of optimizes your licensing cost as well as simplifies your and reduces your operations ongoing cost as well. The manual efforts are also significantly reduced, and that's how you will be able to realize a cost optimization, but it will happen over a period of time and not instantly, right? So that's what I wanted to chip in with.
Yeah, thank you, Mukul. And the second question about the rapid onboarding. Rapid onboarding actually help you to get the early ROI. Okay, that's number one. Number two, instead of in the traditional way of transforming the SOC from maybe the incumbent to the new, or maybe in case of greenfield as well as in the brownfield, it used to take a 3 months kind of time because of legacy as well as traditional log source integrations, or maybe there are certain challenges. Okay, so that's what we have overcome in our the approach and the methodology to transform the SOC. So we do this onboarding with the templatization, with the defined the accelerators, and define the rule sets, which actually help the customer also to deploy those required configuration on the systems and quickly help us to transform, which actually gives the benefit, which start the early monitoring and the early vigilance to the systems. Okay, and it actually help to really get the better ROI on this particular deployment with the rapid deployments.
Understood. All right. Thank you so much for your inputs, Vinay, as well as Mukul. Really appreciate your take on that one. And thank you so much, audience, for being patient, for sticking on with us. We had a whole lot of content to cover, but I'm sure that you benefited from this as much as I did when it comes to modernizing SOCs. And I'm glad to see Indian security practitioners are in the same line when it comes to global trends. It's pretty much aligned to what we are seeing globally as well. So again, thank you, audience. Thank you for your questions. And to answer that first question again, this recording is going to be available. It's going to be an on-demand webinar in about a week's time. You'll find it on the ETCSO website. So it was a great discussion. Thank you again, Vinay. Thank you, Mukul. And thank you very much, audience. Have a great evening ahead. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.